It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
It's a Tuesday. 6:06 is the time, and it is for a good part of Wyoming really smoky out there.
Today's show is sponsored by the Moneyless Money Clip. So expensive, you'll have nothing left to put in it.
Thank you, Bidenomics.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave. Just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move.
No,
Dave.
that smoke that's been moving in is not really from Wyoming anywhere. It's Montana has some, but it's mostly up in Canada, so you can go ahead and blame them for everything. And the worst of it is like today and tomorrow, and then if the forecast holds, well, all of this will start to blow a different direction, and we'll get some relief from this anyway. Okay, I spent a lot of time this morning going through the news, looking for something different to talk about. But no, the news organizations are all focused on basically the same three topics. The director of the Secret Service, which is important, but Biden, we've already said everything about this. And the vice president now, and this really kind of confuses me a little bit, you Democrats out there. Immediately, all of the money that had been pulled away from Joe Biden now was given to Harris. Donors, in other words, who said, well, sorry, we're not going to support Biden. But as soon as Harris stepped up, oh, okay, we'll just go ahead and give our money to her. And these are the big money donors. And then all of the, they're supposed to have when they do their, campaigning, they're supposed to, they're supposed to get the delegates. That's the word I'm looking for. All of the delegates just went for Harris. In which case, some Democrats are saying, hold on a minute. We're supposed to have a bit of a process here. How do they just automatically go to Harris? Which means that she's now on the campaign trail, and you're going to have to put up with several months now of word salads. I hope you like salad.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
There are those who are unable to see what can be, but there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
I really want to get her into a debate with Trump. I really do. Now, Trump has a tendency to ramble a bit too, but this last debate, he was really good. So as long as he stays on topic, and he's been acting very presidential, I think he'll do just fine. But there are those, talk about self-deluding, who are deluding themselves into thinking that Harris is this brilliant woman, just like they thought Joe Biden was a brilliant, decent, honest man. And he's done so many wonderful things for this country, which, of course, isn't the case. But all right. So she's got to go out on the campaign trail, and she has a very short period of time to make her case. And by the way, the Democrats haven't even had their convention yet. But since Democrats tend to like to walk lockstep, as you know they do, then they'll probably just walk lockstep into the convention. I don't see any challenges at this point. So it's probably going to be her against Trump. And then we got to see who she picks as a VP nominee. We don't know that yet. She'll pick somebody at some point. But right now, that's what it looks like. The Democrats are doing what they usually do, and that's just marching lockstep with everything, with no real process here. Which, again, some Democrats, just a few, are complaining that's not the way our process is supposed to be set up. We're supposed to have sort of an open convention here, and we're supposed to get a chance to pick someone and vote and things like that. But instead, it's been a coronation. They've just decided for the Democrats who this is going to be. And the Democrats are all supposed to just fall in line and just go with Harris. So my answer to that is, please go ahead. Just go ahead. Please do. They have this idea that she's just going to sweep everything and just win. Remember, when she was running as a presidential candidate, she was just horrible. She absolutely just sucked. And so she dropped out early. So she's going to do that again? Oh, absolutely. Morning, Jim. Jim says, Kamala once said, after you see what you see, then you see what you see over the sea to Europe, and I don't, it's kind of hard even to read what you're saying there, Jim. How about this?
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Remember Venn diagrams, those 3 circles? Right. And then let's just see where they overlap. You will not be surprised because I have constructed a Venn diagram on this. Remember those 3 circles, how they overlap? I love Venn diagrams, so I just do. Whenever you're dealing with conflict, pull out a Venn diagram, right? And so, the 3 circles.
Here's my prediction in all of this. And, I hate making predictions, but here's my prediction in all of this. We were telling Democrats for a very long time, Biden is just slipping. He has dementia. He's not doing well. And the news media, especially like MSNBC and some other news media, did all they could to hide that. They did everything they could to not let the general public see. And they even tried to convince everybody that videos of Biden, when he would slip, when he would freeze, wander off, those were just deep fakes. Well, okay, they're all deep fakes. Is that what they're? Oh, okay. And then we have the debate. Now, that's live television, as I've said before. That's live television. They can't edit that. And finally, everybody got to see. We've been telling people for a long time that Harris is just an idiot. And it's very difficult to get some people to believe us. So my answer is, please, let's get a debate between her and Trump as soon as possible. Because, again, it's going to be live television. And they won't be able to edit that. Morning, Wild Bill. He is in Laramie. Did you discuss the Cody, Wyoming lemonade stand where someone called the police? No, I don't know about that. Please educate me.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
Okay, Wild Bill, are you talking about the lemonade stand that was in the Cody City Park? That's the story I have from Cowboy State Daily. Let me know, and I can go ahead and do that one, too. So there's another story, and as long as I was talking about your vice president, who now seems to have already sewn up the nomination to run for president for her party. I mean, that just happened quickly because, again, all the Democrats just get in lockstep together. No process. In the meantime, let's get back here to Wyoming on that one. The Democrats in Wyoming want to meet and figure out what to do about that. Now, again, Cowboy State Daily. The 2024 presidential race, the story says, steering into uncharted water, and the Wyoming Democrat Party is playing a small role in trying to move the party forward in race. Quote, this is uncharted territory for sure, says one Democrat in Laramie, Wyoming delegate to the Democrat National Convention. This is not what I expected when I signed up to be a delegate. Now, I want to know, this is what they were saying yesterday about this, but according to what I've been hearing today, Harris already has all of the delegates. So has this changed since yesterday? On Monday night, the state's party's 17 delegates for the Democrat National Convention were scheduled to discuss how they would proceed after Biden's historic announcement and he drops out. So, very little has been discussed among the delegates. They're having a meeting. If there's a different opinions, we all need to discuss them, et cetera, the story gets into. And other than Harris, there's no other choices yet. This is where I want to know, what exactly are the Wyoming Democrats going to do now that, and this is the last that I've heard, now that it looks like Harris has everything all sewed up. As I said earlier, there's a bunch of big donors. When Biden lost tens of millions of dollars, it's because a bunch of rich Democrats decided they were going to hold their money back until Joe dropped out. As soon as he did, well, we're going to go with Harris. Fine, we'll put our money behind her, and they gave the money. That's where she raised $80-some million within a day. That was the money that was being held back from Joe. Now it's just going to Kamala. Okay, but then the Democrats out there still having a problem with, aren't we supposed to have some kind of a process? Weren't we supposed to have a choice? Well, apparently not. Now, this also brings into the question what happens to all the money that Joe Biden had in his coffers that were already donated. Does that just immediately go to Harris? How does this work? I don't know, because, again, a lot of this is uncharted waters, but I'd really like to hear what the 2 or 3 Democrats that exist in Wyoming, apparently there's 17 delegates in the state of Wyoming. That accounts for the 17 Democrats, right? Okay. Or are there 18 Democrats in Wyoming? Anyway, so that's where we are right now. And as I said earlier, you will have to spend the next few months listening to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
Oh, God, I remember that one. I don't know why they felt the need to do all of that. I've got a whole list of these things. It goes on forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Okay. That's supposed to be words of wisdom. I don't know how that works out, but apparently that's supposed to be words of wisdom. So, as I said, it was really a shock to a lot of Democrats, a huge shock when they finally saw during the debate on live television what Joe Biden is really like. And that's why we ended up with Joe dropping out of the race. They didn't see this coming. They didn't know about it. If you're wondering, how could they not know about it? Because they don't watch the same news network you do. And when they get online to get news, they don't go to the same sources you do. So they were being spoon-fed what the Democrat Party wanted them to hear, not what the truth of the matter is. And the same thing is going to be that with Harris, which is why, as far as I'm concerned, please, let's get her out into the public. That's also what was killing Joe, not just the debate, but after the debate. Every time he went out to speak somewhere in public, every time he did an interview, it was really painfully obvious how bad he was. So let's get Harris out there. You and I, a lot of us, have been saying for years just what a dimwit she is. Okay. Please. I hope the Democrats have this locked up. They really don't. They haven't had their convention yet. But I would like them to stick with her. If I could have my wish, stick with Harris right through the convention. And just go ahead and coronate her. Please do. And then let's get her out there for a debate and some other public appearances. And let Democrats see in person what she's really like. And they might remember why, when she ran for president the first time, she dropped out so early. She was so bad, she dropped out really early. And then for some reason, they picked her as the VP candidate with Joe Biden. I don't know why, when she was so bad, she dropped out so early. But okay. Now they're locking her in, and they might just be stuck with her. I think this is good for those of you who wanted another Trump presidency. I think this is probably the best pick that you guys could get. It really could be. Now, I say all of that But I also have to remind myself that this has been a really weird election cycle. I mean, really weird. So I have no idea what's going to happen next. None. We'll just have to wait and see. This has been nothing but entertaining for me. All right, Wild Bill says I have the right story. So I tell you what, when we get out of news, because we have to go through news at the bottom of the hour, local news, update on your weather forecast after that, then I'll go ahead and get into the police being called on the lemonade stand. I don't know the details yet. I haven't heard of the story, so I'll go ahead and take a look at it. We'll get into that. It happened in Cody, apparently. It looks like police were called on a lemonade stand in a park. I don't know why you would call police, but okay, that's apparently what happened. So I'm a big proponent of letting kids opening up lemonade stands, but we'll see what happens. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Really smoky out there today. This is one of the worst days we've had so far, and most of that smoke is actually coming from Canada. There's almost nothing burning in Wyoming. So blame the Canadians. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:36 at the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Big Wave in Casper says, once again, how embarrassing, the great country on the planet. Kamala Harris is the next choice to run it. What's going on? Do you ever feel like you need to wake up from a bad dream? I guess we're destined for some mediocrity. I think that sometimes Americans just really suck at picking people to run things. And it could be not just the presidency, but pick any level of government. The worst possible people will run, and we'll pick the worst possible people. But all right, here's the story that was sent to me about the lemonade stand from Cowboy State Daily. A group of kids set up a lemonade stand in Met Rock Park, Cody, on Thursday. But within a few hours, the stand and the kids were shut down for not having a permit after someone called the police department. First off, I'd like to know who's the jerk who called the police department. On Friday, Outlaw Lemonade was back in business with the full support of the Cody community. Lemonade was being sold, and several residents were amazed that such a thing could happen at all. Quote, I think it's a little ridiculous that they would be required to get a permit for children to set up a lemonade stand. There were several residents that said that to Cowboy State Daily. The entrepreneur lemonade stand was the children's idea in Denver. They got with their best friends. These kids were like 4 to 7 years old. They wanted to have a Billings Day where they would go to Billings with friends and do all the fun things that they can do in Billings at that age. And apparently this was to raise money for it. The 4 enterprising kids set up their stand in the park and started selling cups of Country Time lemonade and cookies for $1 each. And they've been open for 2 hours when the Cody Police Department arrived, but not for a cookie and lemonade. Code enforcement told us that they had received a complaint and they needed to be shut down. With that, the lemonade stand was shut down for the day. Quote, we haven't told the kids the full details yet. It's hard to explain to a child that we're going to shut them down and explain why. I mean, it's a big deal to them. It's not the first time kids in Wyoming have run afoul of local rules. A Girl Scout and her mother, who were ticketed Pinedale in April, made national headlines after Cowboy State Daily reported their story. So apparently, remember what I've told you before about when it comes to getting a permit. See, everything is illegal, immoral, dangerous, until you fill out the proper paperwork and hand government money. Then all of a sudden, it's okay to do it. Now, I understand that the parking, Cody, doesn't want just anyone showing up and just setting up a business in the park. I mean, if I showed up and let's say I'm going to sell a bunch of books and I set up basically a little bookstore with my own books, I can understand this is a park. You don't just set up a business here. These are little kids, I'm sure. And they did work something out. They told the kids, you got to go down and, get the permit to do this, which they did. And so the kids were able to reopen the stand. But again, ridiculous in the first place. Everything is immoral and dangerous until you fill out the paperwork and hand government money. Then magically it's okay to do it. So anyway, Farrell and Hamilton repeatedly said they had no resentment for the Cody Police Department or code enforcement. They hadn't obtained a permit to sell in the city park, and everybody else was just doing their jobs. I still want to know who's the jerk who called the police. We all take full accountability. We were in the wrong by not having taking the proper steps to get a permit. Yeah. Now again, I look at it now, and again, the lemonade stand is open again now that they went and got the paperwork all done, which is completely useless. And there's a picture here of a police officer buying lemonade from the kids, so all is well there. Now, if the police could just go find out, so who's the jerk who called the police in the first place, and deal with that guy, I think we'll be fine. It would be fine. I don't like the idea of calling the police because here's kids with a lemonade stand and men with body armor and guns show up to shut them down. That's what I have a problem with. How about just send somebody who's not a cop to go talk to the parents and say, hey, you're supposed to do this stupid thing with this stupid paperwork, and how about you go do that, and we'll let you open up your lemonade stand. Drives me nuts. They could have done it in their yard, and there's no permit for that. But I bet you the park had more customers.
In the last 11 years, 115 people died of weightlifting accidents in a gym. In that same 11 years, only one person died of eating a donut. Make good choices, people.
He's talking to himself in a padded room, and you could be the voice in his head. Join the conversation on Wake Up Wyoming, 866-97-WOODS.
6:48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino waiting by. Frank, I came across some ideas that people have about grocery stores. Like, for example, why not have either some carts or baskets in the middle of the store for when we go into the store thinking we don't need those things, but then realize we're carrying more than we can handle.
Well, then if you're going to be that empty-headed, go back to the front of the store and get a cart.
Okay. I do the walk of shame is what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
Don't put them in the middle. If you forgot, go get another one.
Wow. Okay.
You actually could, put a list on your phone that you could edit as you go.
Yes. But you see, here's the problem with that.
And never go to the grocery store when you're hungry.
I find that people who make lists on their phones or even on a piece of paper, they'll even bring the list to the store, but then they never refer to it.
You know what happens is they leave it in the cart when they put their groceries in the car.
Oh, I got this. I don't need that stupid list.
Yeah.
Just because I like to walk around in my underwear eating Doritos doesn't make me strange. The folks in aisle 4 just won't stop staring.
You're strange, and that's why people are staring at you. But if you have no shame in the whole thing,
fine.
I'm fine. Yeah.
I like this one. Am I getting older, or is the supermarket playing great music?
They are. I've heard Ozzy Osbourne. I've heard Led Zeppelin.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the music in the grocery store has gotten a lot better. A lot better.
Or the music you grew up with is now old people's music, Frank.
Not only that, the high school marching bands play that stuff now, too.
Yes. Oh, my God, you're right, yeah. Okay. Welcome to adulthood, where you get mad when they rearrange the grocery store.
Oh, yeah. I get, I'm probably the worst. I really get lost in a lot of places. I mean, something with 3 items takes a half an hour. Yeah. And it really shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. I just don't like it when I go to a store and to me, their arrangement doesn't make sense. I mean, if I'm going to buy bread, shouldn't the peanut butter and jelly be right there?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So it's all the bread stuff, and then it's like raisins.
I was in one store where I was looking for soup, and I forget what they labeled it. but they didn't call it soup. It was like canned goods or something like that. Tell me soup. So I can look at the sign and say, oh, that's soup. I'm going for the soup.
Yeah. Remember, now it comes out of little racks.
Right.
Things have changed. Maybe this you call the grocery store and they deliver it to your car. Is that a bad idea?
I think that's probably, I've never actually, have you ever seen anyone use that?
Oh, I know people who do, and they do it religiously.
Oh, okay. Because I'm sure people use that, but I've never seen it happen.
Probably the only thing that you would rather get yourself is produce.
Yeah.
Unless you find somebody say, you know what, are you really picking the best produce? And they will say, you know what, if I'd be picking it for me. Well, the 128th Annual Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo moving along today at Frontier Park. In yesterday's session, Zeke Thurston from Alberta, Canada, who rodeo collegiately at the junior college level in Wyoming at Sheridan, with a 90 in the saddle bronc in that quarterfinal round. Also in the bull riding, Kai Hamilton, who's the number one guy in the world and a four-time NFR qualifier, and actually won the World Championship last year, pulled an 88. Also in the bull riding, Wyatt Phelps from Pinedale with a no score so far at Frontier Days. And in the bareback, Jacob Lees from Caldwell, Idaho with an 85, but also in the breakaway roping, the bareback, Rody Farrell, from Thermopolis with an 84. In the breakaway roping, Willow Wilson from Baggs with a 7.60 in round 5. And the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo moves along at Frontier Park at 1 p.m. this afternoon and will run the rest of the week. American Legion Baseball, first from Friday in that Lubbock, Texas tournament. The Cheyenne Sixers over on Fuego 2-1. And the Parker 16U team beat the Cheyenne Hawks 11-6. On Saturday, the Casper Oilers swept the Billings Scarlets in a doubleheader, 4-3 and 7-4. And the Sixers defeated the Lubbock team down in Texas 7-6, and the Cheyenne Hawks over the BBA Beast 3-1. Then on Sunday, Billings swept the Casper Oilers 7-0 and 11-4. In the now coming up today, the Cheyenne Sixers will host the Casper Oilers in a twin bill at 4 and 6:30, and the Laramie AA Rangers will be on the road at Rock Springs. In collegiate baseball in the Independence League, the Casper Spuds on the road. They beat Spearfish Sasquatch 11-8 yesterday, so the Spuds are 38-6. Those two teams will meet again tonight in Spearfish. And in Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies beat the Boston Red Sox 9-8 in 12 innings yesterday at Coors Field Endeavor. Ezekiel Tovar with the bases loaded to drive in the winning run in the bottom of the 12th. He had 3 hits in the game. The Rockies are 37-64, and those two teams will play again tonight at Coors Field Endeavor. That's it in sports.
I'm so glad there's a team out there named Sasquatch.
Yes, the Sasquatch from Spearfish, yes. I'm not sure what the mascot's name is. I have to look it up, but it is a big Sasquatch kind of a dude.
Okay, but they play baseball in the summertime. It's got to be hot in there.
Oh, it's just got to be roasting in there.
Oftentimes people will say when they meet Bigfoot, he stinks.
Yeah.
Well, this guy would definitely fit that.
Well, it's a dry heat.
Sure it is, but still, I mean, here's this guy inside that suit sweating all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's living up to because he just stinks.
And you know what? Those mascots.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for them for that exact same reason, because they, after a game, they stink, and their suit stinks.
Yes.
Who washes those?
Oh, God. Don't even want to, especially when it's a big hairy costume.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on your weather forecast. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday. It's smoky out there. I guess you could tell that, right? We'll talk to Don Day about the smoke and when it starts moving out of the area at 7:45.
Today's show is sponsored by the Moneyless Money Clip. So expensive, you'll have nothing left to put in it.
You know, you can call that the Biden money clip if you want to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Governor and we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time.
And Democrats think this woman is just brilliant. She is their presumptive nominee. And, of course, we have to wait till we get to the convention, but so far all support is behind her right now. Okay, so I came across this, which I just thought was really interesting. It was watch Kamala Harris support bans on plastics, on plastic straws, even offshore drilling, et cetera, et cetera. So here's some of what she has said. Let's see. Likely Dem president nominee, and now she is, well, likely anyway. Kamala Harris said she would force millions of workers in the energy sector to transition to new jobs. Force them. Such as insulation of wind turbines and solar paneling. Force them. Not allowing the free market to do it. Flashback to 2021. Her evidence-free, empty rhetoric. She was on Tucker Carlson talking about blaming immigration on climate change. She also defended the Green New Deal and wants the new president, which could be her, so we can change human behaviors on climate change. Now, once again, this is not someone who's interested in freedom or free markets. She wants to change human behavior and force people. Kamala Harris laughs about paper straws, how they quickly collapse, but still wants to ban plastic straws. And this gets back to that idiotic study that was done by this young kid who said that Americans use 500 million straws a day, and most of them wind up in the ocean, and none of that is true. But all right. COVID lockdowns morph into climate lockdowns. This is where she was seeking the Green New Deal so we can change human behavior once again. Let me see. VP Harris has a particular climate change agenda with environmental justice. She defends a Green New Deal and wants, these are just headlines here, a new president, which would be her, she thinks, so we can change human behavior on climate change. There's a lot of headlines like that. A lot of it has to do with changing your behavior. She's announced $3 billion U.S. pledge to global climate action in Dubai. It just goes on and on like this. But how much of it is all about changing your behavior to what she thinks would be best for you? Your opinion doesn't matter.
This election in November, it's going to be about literally our health and whether we live or die.
Thank you, guys. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
She, her, and her. Mine too.
So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. They make really bad decisions.
Do you believe that Americans should have the right to vote at age 16?
I'm really interested in having that conversation.
Convicted, in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation.
She thinks we should do away with the Electoral College. Is that, do you agree with that?
I think that I'm open to the discussion. I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal.
But would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
The food pyramid. What people are
yes.
To reduce red meat specifically.
Yes, I would.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should.
Assault weapons that are already in circulation. What do you do about those?
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
Okay, so there you go. You get the idea. That's the pick that they have, and I was picking on her last hour of the program, too. I'm not going to do it for the entire 4 hours of the program, but that's the Democrat pick right now. They all threw their support behind her, and apparently when the Democrats get to the convention, as it is now, it's just going to be a coronation. So let's see what happens when they finally get there. This is where I would be looking forward to Trump debating her, Because, as I was saying last hour, for those people who are Democrats who didn't think that there was anything wrong with Joe, then you watch that debate and realize, oh, my God, there is something wrong with him. So you might think that, hey, this woman is a smart, just brilliant woman. She's going to do a fantastic job, beat Trump. And then you're going to watch her in the first debate and you're going to realize, or you're going to go because she's already out on the campaign trail. You're going to go out on the campaign trail. You're going to go to some event to see her speak. And as you watch her, you're going to start to realize, oh, my God, what have we done? So I'm glad they got rid of Joe. I really am so glad they got rid of Joe. But this is the Democrat pick. Okay. I wonder at what point do the Democrats start to panic again? Because they were panicking over Joe. But at some point they're going to realize, oh, God, we still haven't made a good decision, have we?
Woke Radio WOKE. Your donations keep us going, so go borrow some money from Mom and send it our way.
When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
7:18 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, I'm going to get away from Harris now because I think everything's already been said that could be said about her until she does something stupid that's new. And then we can go ahead and talk about, that. But until then, even when it comes to Biden and some of the other topics that are in the news right now, all the news sites that I went to this morning are talking about the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm thinking, there's other stuff going on in the world. Like this, for example. It's been a while, but I've had a few liberals call this program and advocate for the universal basic income. The idea that all you have to do is just give somebody money and they don't ever have to worry about being poor. They'll be able to at least pay their basic bills because we're just going to give them money so they can pay for things. And liberals don't understand why that doesn't work because they were never taught how money works. And they have other problems, too.
I cannot stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay? God. I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat.
Well, that was all of us at that age.
All by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago when you were getting started, you could live on your own.
No, we couldn't,
20 years ago when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do.
That's not true, actually.
Here. You've been working for 20 years. You have 20 years of working experience behind your belt. You have 20 years of experience in a career that has allowed you to gain raises, to get more money, to profit you in an economy that you create.
That's how it works.
You can sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to work my tail end off, wasting all of my life working just to barely be able to pay my bills.
Okay. All right. She goes on, and I'm not going to put you through all of that. And a lot of what she said was wrong because, I don't know about you, but for me, when I first got out on my own, it was a struggle. It was a lot of hard work. I had more than one job. I did everything I could to make the money to get myself going. It was really difficult to get started. I think most people are like that. Don't think she understands. Also, she doesn't seem to understand what work is. All right, so here's the story. Giving Americans $1,000 per month makes them worse off, says a new 3-year, 3,000 participant study. See, they didn't have to do this study. They could have just given me the money for the study and I would have told them this. But all right. The National Bureau of Economic Research massive study found participants and their partners work and earn less, with negative effects on wages and earnings over time. While proponents of universal basic income theorize that such programs would improve non-economic metrics for recipients, the study surprisingly, let me pause right there, nothing surprising about this, showed only leisure time increased as recipients spent less time on sleeping, childcare, community engagement, caring for others, self-improvement. Transfers also reduced recipients' their income, basically. It reduced their income.
for every $1 they received. Total household income, excluding the transfer, fell by at least 21 cents. So for every dollar they were given, they worked about 21 cents less, is essentially what they're trying to say. The takeaway from the study done so far by UBI in the United States is that handing money isn't the solution to our problems. According to an economic researcher, pardon me, I'm coughing here, and graduate fellow at the Manhattan Institute. In fact, sometimes it makes things worse. We knew this because of welfare. We knew this because welfare has done the exact same thing. But all right, the study's authors noted mean-tested welfare encourages recipients to cut hours, to preserve benefits, leading to advocacy for unconditional cash transfer programs. Without these distortions, will also allow individuals to either look for more high security. Let me translate this into English. If you didn't give them this money, then they would get desperate and go out and earn it. And then that helps not just them, but the economy, because the economy is not money, it's production. Participants' individual incomes declined about $1,500 per year relative to the control group that was getting the money. It talks about how much money they didn't bother earning, but also how much time they didn't bother working. And why bother? Because the money's just rolling in, so why go work? During the 2020 Democrat presidential primaries, a lawyer gained national attention with his proposal for a $1,000 per month freedom dividend, he called it. Just giving everybody this universal basic income. If everybody just got a universal basic income, then we would all be doing just fine, right? Again, these are people who were never taught what money is or how it works. Milo in Fort Danger. I'm 65, and everything came together for me and my family about 6 years ago when I no longer had to struggle. Okay, so this study, participants exhibited more entrepreneurial orientation when they were forced to find clever ways, essentially, to make a living. So, again, when they get desperate, they suddenly get really entrepreneurial. They also shared opposition to a blanket universal basic income, noting the study did not address concerns about inflation. You want to give people $1,000 a month. Now, inflation eventually makes that how much over time? Quote, it's important to remark that this study doesn't look at the macroeconomic impact of universal basic income, which would raise inflation and affect how interest rates are implemented nationwide. Now the question that's more interesting is if the almost null effects of universal basic income are better or less bad than those of our existing welfare programs. And I would say universal basic income and welfare programs are the same thing as far as I'm concerned. Why would there be a difference between the two? It's basically the same thing. You're putting people on welfare, but in a sense you're just handing them cash. Here's a quote. Unconditional cash transfers have much bigger impacts if they are directed toward those who are truly in need of the money. Giving cash to people with higher incomes through universal basic income diminishes economic benefits for individuals and disadvantaged communities. Some American states are considering adopting universal basic income programs. Last November, now this is not going to surprise you, California, of course, became the first state in the nation to pilot a universal basic income program with $1,000 monthly payments to some youth in Ventura County and $1,500 monthly payments for young people in San Francisco. Now, we already know that this is a test program. We've already run these tests before. We know how this works besides welfare. In fact, there's a few European countries that tried universal basic income and stopped doing it for all the reasons that you can imagine. I mean, the people looked at it and went, okay, apparently this just makes people essentially lazy. I'm getting money. All I have to do is just watch how I spend it, and I don't have to work that much. Now, again, that affects production. And remember, the economy is not money. The economy is production. Money is just how we trade the economy. You need people out there being productive. This is as bad as the people who say, well, America can never go broke. We can never go bankrupt because we can always just print more money. Once again, people who think they're really smart, but they have no one ever taught them what money was or how it works, or for that matter, what human nature is. One of the worst things you can do for someone is just give them everything they need. I mean, let's take a look at a rich kid. Dad worked really hard and became worth mega millions of dollars and gave that money when he died to his kids. The kids, now being stinking rich, did what with it? Yeah. Now, some of them will be smart enough. Some will be smart enough to take that money, become entrepreneurs, and continue on. But in many cases, oh no, they have now all of this money. They can retire in their 20s or somewhere around there. They can just go ahead and retire, and why bother? And the next generation after that has no money because it was all spent. This is typically how it works. We know these lessons. We've seen this how many times? And yet someone is still out there trying to sell the idea of universal basic income, which again just shows they know nothing about how money works, and they know nothing about human nature. Yeah, Milo's saying, but Glenn, I needed that new iPhone 50. That cost $2,000 instead of the Samsung for $159.95. Morning, Rick. He's in Cheyenne. Rose by any other name. It's Wake Up Wyoming. We got, local news coming your way. Update on your weather forecast. 7:45, Don Day's coming up. And he'll have a conversation with us, not just about weather, but all this smoke that's in the area right now. And when we can expect it to move out. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
7:36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. So morning, Steve and Arnie. Shelley's in Mills, Wyoming. I want to read this one next because I think it's a really good point. I just got done talking about universal basic income and played a clip which was from TikTok of a young lady just mad as hell because I got to get out there and work all these jobs and have a bunch of roommates in order to make a living. And you didn't have to do this when you were my age 20-some years ago. Yes, we did. We did. But okay, here's what I'm getting from Mills. I think some of the difference in older generations versus some of the younger generations is that we wanted to make it on our own. We didn't expect anybody to help us. I remember I couldn't wait to get out of my parents' house and make it on my own, even if it meant struggling to make ends meet. However, I do think there is a sense of entitlement across a lot of age groups these days, good and bad in every generation. And I do think that's right. I do think a lot of that has to do with the way people are raised, because there was a generation that raised their kids to be self-sufficient. I remember hearing my mother say to friends of hers that her goal was to make sure that her kids were not a burden on society. Whatever we did with our lives, we would get out there and work hard and make our own way, and we would not be a burden to anybody else. And there was pride in that, too. That was something that younger generations were taught at a very early age, that work ethic and the importance of it. And not just the importance of being self-sufficient, but not being a burden on anyone else. I don't think people understand who want a universal basic income, which was what I was talking about earlier. That money's got to come from somewhere. It doesn't just magically fall out of the sky. You want someone to pay for your college education when you borrow the money? That money's coming from somewhere, from somebody. It's not magically falling out of the sky. You want a universal basic income. You want welfare. That money's coming from somewhere. Again, it's not just magically falling out of the sky. And you're thinking, well, we'll just take it from rich people. Yeah, well, rich people don't have... Someone, I've talked about this before, who's worth billions of dollars doesn't have billions of dollars. It's that the companies and the investments that they have is worth that much in economic activity. It's not just that they have a bank vault somewhere with loads of money sitting around. We'll just take that. Doesn't work that way. That's not how money works. So they were never taught how money works, and they were never taught about how to become self-sufficient and pride in their own work, but also not just being not a burden on society, but being self-sufficient means they don't owe anything to anybody else. No one's in control of them. If you're making your own way on planet Earth, then you don't owe anyone anything. So you can just go ahead and then pave your way in life and not answer to anybody. That's what being a free person in a free society is. But yeah, I do think a big part of it that I would love to teach young people today, and we're not teaching them what money really is, how the economy works, but also the importance of being self-sufficient. And there's so many reasons that being self-sufficient is an important thing. I really do think many people in the younger generation, in fact, I'll give you a great example of this. This is not fair exactly as an example, but it does work. Quite a few years ago, I was in a mall and basically watching out for like a 5 or 6 year old girl while her mom went off and did something. And I was just sort of babysitting, right? And I went over to the ATM machine and pulled a little bit of money out so we can go get some ice cream, right? And then she looked at something that she wanted and wanted me to buy it. And I said, well, I can't afford to do that. And she said, well, yeah, you can. You just go over to that machine and it gives you money, the ATM machine. And I'm realizing, well, she's just like 5, 6 years old. She doesn't understand the money in the ATM doesn't just magically come out because I asked for it. You just get money out of the magic machine and you can just buy whatever you want. That's how that works, right? Not realizing how that money gets in there in the first place that belongs to me, that I can call on it. She had no clue, but she's only 5 years old. So we have people who get all the way through high school, all the way into college, and they still don't know because no one ever taught them. That's a big part of the problem. This is our education system, ladies and gentlemen, where even the teachers, if you go talk to the teachers, even they don't know because nobody taught them. If you're wondering why is it not being taught in schools, because your teachers don't know either. Especially when you get into college, some of the major universities, and you talk to some of the socialist college professors, they have no idea how anything works, although they will swear to you they're smarter than everybody else. Oh, they think they are.
You cut the pizza into rectangles. I know what I did. I take geometry. You know I only like triangular pizza.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here first. This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Day weather. Don, I'm getting a little sick of the smoke.
Stand in line, take a number.
Okay, yeah.
Because everyone is too.
Yeah, and it seems to me when I take a look at the smoke map, it's a little bit thicker today. Am I reading that right?
Well, yeah, the smoke map gets updated frequently throughout the day, and the smoke does kind of come in surges. It's not evenly distributed, so you might be under one of the thicker patches at the moment.
Okay, so now when this hangs out, I think you said it hangs out today, tomorrow, maybe Thursday. We start seeing some relief.
We'll start to see the deeper smoke plume start to move east on Thursday. So Thursday is a day I think we may wake up to it.
Yeah.
By later in the day, it really starts to thin out. It'll certainly be much thinner in the western part of the state, where you really are going to notice it being out of the areas Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Now, I'm hoping that this change in wind direction brings with it a little more moisture.
It will. Thunderstorms are going to start to be really commonplace in the far western counties of the state on Thursday. So Yellowstone, around Jackson, around Evanston and Rock Springs. Thunderstorms on Thursday will be developing. So as that shift comes, it does push in subtropical moisture again. And Thursday in the west, Friday and Saturday in the central and the east, thunderstorm coverage should be pretty good. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to rain on everybody, but if you're underneath a thunderstorm Friday or Saturday, you're going to get rained on. So there's a fairly good chance of that. Okay. That'll help mix the atmosphere up even more and disperse the smoke even more.
Still, though, we have a couple of days here where it gets a bit warmer, I noticed.
Yeah, it is going to be hot. The northern part of the state in particular, there's a little area of very hot temperatures forming up in Montana right now that will extend in the northern and northeastern Wyoming and the western Dakotas. And that little heat dome migrates southeast as we get to the end of the week and the weekend. So despite the fact we have this moisture coming on in, temperatures, they're not going to be smashing any records, but it's going to be pretty hot. Lots of 80s and 90s coming.
Okay. Now, I did understand, looking at the smoke map, that most of this smoke is coming from Canada. Is that correct?
Canada, and there are some large fire complexes in eastern Oregon.
Okay.
So it's, the smoke doesn't carry a sign, I'm from here or I'm from there, but you kind of put them all together. And that's kind of what's happening. The plume is able to merge kind of a coalition of smoke. So
well, usually I play the Blame Canada song in the wintertime, but I'm thinking this time I can play it again because of the smoke.
Why not make it a year-round adventure?
I think that's fine. Love that part. They're not even a real country anyway. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino's waiting by. So, Frank, if you go to Yellowstone, be careful where you park.
Why?
Steamboat geyser erupted, right? Which it does.
Oh.
Yeah. And when it does, there's like mud and muck and stuff that's like millions of years old. And if the wind's blowing in the right direction, you're going to need to wash your car.
Oh, okay. I would take it home as a souvenir.
Yeah. See, now some people will go ahead and park their car close. I don't want to walk all that way. Well, fine, but then you're going to have to wash your car.
I only see people park by the side of the road when there's an animal to be looked at.
Oh, okay.
So they park wherever they're going to park.
Well, let's see how much damage can be done. That's
and is this thing does it chew your paint off the car? Or?
I don't know. I'd like to see this. It says the eruption of Steamboat Geyser, once a lifetime event for many people, and one lady learned while visiting Yellowstone about 3:20 p.m. Monday, her car was parked real close by, so she could just walk right over there. And when she got back to her car, well, they tried washing it with dish soap. That really didn't work well.
Oh, really?
It's like a silica storm.
Oh, so what kind of additive will they need to?
I have no idea, but I'm now thinking about all the ways that you can ruin your car if you're in Yellowstone.
Well, just park by the geyser, yeah.
Yeah, the geysers, the animals.
Well, yeah, I mean, say something runs into it.
Yeah. So if you have a nice new car and you wanted to go on a road trip across America, I get it. But I'm going to advise people, but stay out of Yellowstone.
Or park far, far away from anything that's volcanic.
Park far away from the geysers, and if you see an animal, stay about a mile away.
Yeah.
Especially if it has horns.
Yeah. So why would you... Are you recommending that people just take the worst car they can find?
Yes. Go ahead
and just abandon it there?
Have you? That'd be a great idea. Have you heard of it's a car rental place called Rent-A-Wreck.
Rent-A-Wreck, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's a good idea to set up a Rent-A-Wreck. This is a neat idea, Frank. Another one of these money-making ideas of mine. We open up a Rent-A-Wreck right outside of Yellowstone and let people know, don't drive your vehicle in there. Instead, rent one of ours.
Yes.
Because we don't care what happens to it.
Yeah, but bring it back, please.
Well, yeah, but it's Rent-A-Wreck.
Yeah. You like to get like 2 trips out of it.
Sure. Yeah, and we can go ahead and show people this is what happened the last time they drove one of these vehicles in there. So if you come back with an extra a dent or two, don't worry about it.
That's fine. All right, the 128th Annual Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo moving along today at Frontier Park. And yesterday's action, Zeke Thurston, who competed at the junior college level in Wyoming with a 90 in the quarterfinal round of the Saddle Bronc. The Alberta Cowboy is in really good shape. That's going to pay in some serious cash. Also in the bull riding, Kai Hamilton with an 88. He's the defending world champion from Australia. And also in the bull riding, Wyatt Phelps from Pinedale with a no score. In the bareback, Jacob Lees from Caldwell, Idaho with an 85 yesterday. And Rhodey Farrell from Thermopolis had an 84. In the breakaway roping, Willow Wilson out of bags with a 7.60 in round 5. And the rodeo continues this afternoon at 1 p.m. at Frontier Park. American Legion Baseball, first on Friday, the Cheyenne Sixers were still in that Lubbock, Texas tournament. They were there for a while, it seemed like. And they defeated the Enfuego team on Friday 2-1. And the Cheyenne Hawks were there too. They lost to the Parker 16U team 11-6. On Saturday, the Sixers defeated Lubbock, Texas 7-6. And the Hawks defeated the BBA Beasts 3-1. Casper Oilers in Casper beat the Billings Scarlets in a doubleheader 4-3 and 7-4. And then Billings turned around on Sunday to beat the Oilers 7-0 and 11-4. Now today, the Casper Oilers will be in Cheyenne to take on the Sixers in a doubleheader at Powers Field at 4 and 6:30. And the Laramie AA Rangers will hit the road for Rock Springs for a doubleheader at 4 and 6:30. In collegiate baseball in the Independence League, the Casper Spuds over the Spearfish Sasquatch on the road 11-8 yesterday. The Spuds are 38 and 6 on the year, and they'll meet the Sasquatch tonight in South Dakota. And then the Colorado Rockies, they beat the Boston Red Sox yesterday at Coors Field 9-8 in 12 innings. Ezequiel Tovar drove in the game-winning run in the bottom of the 12th with a base hit with the bases loaded. He had 3 hits in the game. The Rockies are 37 and 64, and those two teams will meet again tonight in Denver. That's it in sports.
Is it the Red Sox that are actually worse than?
No, the Red Sox are actually halfway. Well, they're halfway decent.
Halfway. Okay.
I guess they bring a lot of fans.
All right. What was the team that's actually worse than the Rockies?
The Chicago White Sox.
So not the Red Sox, but the White Sox.
The White Sox, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
And
then they just explain it to their fans like, you know what? We're awful.
Yes, we're awful, but at least we're not Denver. So, I mean.
Yeah, and they are too. You know what? The Rockies will actually still draw people despite how bad they are.
Well, the Rockies can say, hey, look, at least we're not the White Sox.
Well, yeah, true. Now, if they played each other, it would be the pillow fight of all time.
Oh, my God, yeah. I'm looking forward to that game.
I'm not.
I still want to have a game of the two worst teams to see who loses.
There they are, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And give them a trophy.
Yes. Coming up on a participation trophy is what they Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time and open phones. So it's national news, local news, update on the weather forecast, open phones for next hour of the program. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
Monday.
The time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Tuesday. My name is Glenn Woods, and we're reaching the open phone segment of the program.
Today's show is sponsored by the Moneyless Money Clip. So expensive, you'll have nothing left to put in it.
Just call it the Bidenomics Money Clip. Same idea.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in. And let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Talking about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, as you know, we're living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying. Just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
Let's talk about all things electric. First off, there's the e-bike, which is one of the things that I've tried this one bike my sister has, which is, I think, a good idea. It's a boosted bike. So let's say you're pedaling along, having a good time riding your bike, and you get to a particularly steep hill. The bike will offer a bit of a boost to help you get up the hill. That's all it does. The bike does not coast for you everywhere. It's not a 100% electric bike, just when you needed that little bit of help. You can go ahead and kick it in. I think it's a good idea because there were some hills around my sister's neighborhood that were actually kind of steep, and it helped me get to the top instead of having to get off and walk the bike up, But still, Americans want to lose weight. How about getting bikes that you can pedal? Well, New York City Council passed new safety laws last week in an attempt to confront the growing dangers with e-bikes and lithium-ion batteries. Several days later, residents are still dealing with the aftermath. A deadly fire that tore through a Harlem apartment. That was last Friday. The fire was sparked by a lithium battery. Quote, "This is a senseless tragedy could have been prevented." The Department of Buildings issued a full vacate order, meaning dozens of families had to get out. This is a quote, "On many fronts, it's been reported to the management companies and to the city on many occasions that there were e-bikes being parked in front of the building, upwards of 12 to 15 bikes at a time. The fire took the life of a 27-year-old and critically injured several others. Wednesday morning, City Council voted unanimously to pass a new e-bike safety rule, one which requires all businesses that sell e-bikes and e-scooters to post safety information about the battery storage online. The second rule will increase existing regulations prohibiting businesses from selling batteries that are not certified. In other words, a lot of these batteries are coming from out of the country and are not technically certified as safe. Now, having said that, here's the next story. American consumers' love affair with electric vehicles turned out to be more, a one-night stand, says the story. That's the conclusion of many economists today, along with the management at automakers, including Ford and General Motors. The Biden administration attempted to force its EV mandate on the public, into supporting it by spiking the punch bowl for generations. In other words, they tried to make it this very difficult to buy an internal combustion engine and tried to force you into an electric vehicle, whether you wanted one or not. There was an initial surge of EV sales, but I think those were the people who were going to buy one anyway. And then a lot of the people who bought those vehicles had regrets afterwards, and so they're not going to buy another one. But soon those sales cooled dramatically, and the lots began to fill up with all sorts of electric vehicles that are just not moving. The story says there's one simple reason automakers like Ford and GM are stepping back from their ambitious EV plans: customers. Contrary to exuberant predictions, environmental groups and so on, the Biden administration, and all sorts of government, and we'll put this in quote, experts, the love affair with the EVs have never really happened. Turns out, these relatively pricey novelties just aren't appealing practically, especially when hybrids offer something much more efficient. Although I still have some problems with hybrids, but at least it's better than just going straight all electric. The story says the Link report concludes that the shift to going all in on electric vehicles, if we were to actually ever do it, would take many more decades than they originally said. And I assume if that means that you want one in the first place, because there's people like, Biden, but Harris too, who want you in an electric vehicle whether you want one or not. But you're supposed to be an American with freedom of choice here. So the initial surge drove the EV shares into the consumer market from, a high percentage, making it, Well, it talks about the percentage of sales at first and then how it slowed down to what it is today. In fact, growth may halt entirely in EV sales because there are some places around the world where people are still buying electric vehicles, but those sales have slowed down tremendously as people begin to look at the practicality of this. And then they run into the problem of, well, and it's just part of the practicality problem, charging it. Infrastructure, cost of not just purchasing the vehicle, but owning the vehicle. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems with these electric vehicles. And I'll give electric vehicles this. If you get in one and you I almost said gas pedal. When you step on the accelerator, that's a better way to put it. Boy, you get torque instantly because of the way that engine works. And because there's less to the engine, there's less to break down. That's what's good with it. But there's a lot of other things that are just wrong with it. And again, practically speaking, it's just not working out. And then the very idea, and this is to me what's most offensive, the very idea that they can go ahead and force you or try to manipulate the market. One of the ways of manipulating the market was to increase the fuel efficiency of the internal combustion engine to a point that's just not possible. And eventually that means automakers would not be able to make the internal combustion engine anymore because it's just not possible to make something that is that fuel efficient. That was one of the ways the Biden administration wanted to do this through the rulemaking process, which they shouldn't be doing anyway because they're using the rulemaking process rather than going through Congress and a law. But still, how about the vehicle that you want to buy? That's something else they want to take out of the mix. Not allowing you to make up your own mind as a decision maker, a free person in a free country.
You know how people are using pronouns these days like she, him, her, them, theirs? I want you to start using adjectives when you address me like spectacular, outstanding, phenomenal, audacious.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Are you or someone you know experiencing a speech, language, or swallowing disorder? An ASHA-certified speech-language pathologist can help. Visit us at asha.org/public.
Hey, 20 is the time. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me. A Rock Springs, Wyoming gas station mixed up diesel and gasoline. Now, right away, people out there who know anything about mechanics are going, whoops. Story from Cowboy State Daily says at least 17 vehicles have been contaminated after a fuel station in Rock Springs, Wyoming, mistakenly switched its supplies, unleaded and diesel fuel. Locals have confirmed. The Come and Go on Foothills Boulevard, which is now owned by Maverick, was running a diesel through its premium unleaded pump and unleaded through its diesel pump last Tuesday and Wednesday, according to a repair shop employees who tried to help remedy the damages. So, quote, we will be more than happy to take care of the vehicles, and Maverick will pay for that. And they are. Give credit to Maverick for stepping up and saying they're going to go ahead and pay for any damage that was done. They clarified Monday on a phone interview with Cowboy State Daily saying they're not a spokeswoman or spokesperson for Maverick nor a mechanic, but a supervisor gave permission to make a post on the local Rants and Raves page on social media. We just received a truck this morning, which was Wednesday, that we know was contaminated. My aunt actually runs the Maverick up there, so I called her, let her know what was going on, and got everything coordinated with them. So, okay. That can be expensive, as you know, for those people, again, who know engines. I've heard that can run up to like $5,000. A professional diesel mechanic emptied the tank, replaced the fuel filters with, he said, about $60 each, was able to flush the fuel lines without having to replace them. Then he fueled the truck up with good diesel. So in that case, it didn't cost them that much. But putting that gas in diesel could have easily cost someone $5,000 because that can take out fuel injectors. Gas is very hard on diesel motors, he said. So, okay, at least the tally so far, wow. Well, I mean, you can imagine the price is going up, but at least I'll give credit to Maverick for stepping up and saying, we'll go ahead and take care of any damage done. This would be the first time I ever heard that a gas station accidentally switched the two. So whoever had to fill those tanks, who was in charge of filling those tanks, guarantee you has a lot of explaining to do.
Hi, I'm Gil Fulbright. The people who run my campaign, they've made this commercial, and I'm in it. This campaign, it's not about me. It's about crafting a version of me that'll appeal to you. A version that visits random work sites with paid actors pointing at things. A version of me that doesn't find old people loathsome or pointless. Has a conventionally attractive yet curiously still family. Listening to my constituents, legislating, these are things I don't do. What I do is spend about 70% of my time raising funds for re-election. I'd do anything to stay in office. My name's Gil Fulbright, but hell, I'll change my name to Phil Goldbright or Bill Fulbright or fill up my mouth with farts. These are the things that are important to me. And these are the fine people that finance my campaign. Now, in order to do these things, I have to stay in office. And to stay in office, I have to keep these guys happy. Now, if any of these things make these guys unhappy, well, my hands are tied. So come November, the choice is clear. Do you want another spineless mouthpiece for special interest in lobbyists? Or a spineless mouthpiece for special interest in lobbyists? I'm Philip a mouth with farts, and I approve this message.
I should have explained before I played that one, it's time to start playing honest political ads, which you don't normally ever hear when we get to the next election cycle. But here we are.
Hello, my name is Carl, and I'm running for Congress in your district. I'm not an expert in anything. Nothing. Not a thing. But I sure know how to look like I know what I'm talking about, and that's why I'm electable. I'm not an expert on guns, or finance, or science. Heck, I flunked science in school 3 times. I know nothing about automobiles or engines of any kind. I know nothing about energy, gas, coal, oil, green energy, whatever that means. I've never held a gun in my life, and actually I'm kind of scared to. But if you elect me into office, I promise to pass laws regulating everything that I know nothing about. I promise to act like the expert that I never really could be, because I cannot pass the test to get a job in that field to save my life. But I can regulate it. Yes, that's what America needs today. Experts in nothing to regulate everything. After all, isn't that what government does best?
You know, I'd really like to see during any debate that we have is maybe someone gets hooked up to a lie detector. Any politician.
We hooked this average politician up to a lie detector so we could discern exactly when he was lying and when he was telling the truth.
Good morning.
Ooh, off to a bad start.
I'm happy to be here.
Really? Can't even tell the truth about that, huh?
Your government is hard at work.
Ooh, not doing well, are we?
We have solved many problems.
Come on, just tell the truth once.
Care about your well-being.
I don't think he has it in him. I'm telling the truth, I mean.
We will take responsible steps.
Come on now, this is for all the money.
Well, we want to solve these problems.
We have faith in you. Well, no we don't.
Because the last administration...
Ooh, swing and a miss.
I promise I will...
I'm thinking this is not going to end well.
Oh, I promise I will... Come on.
And there you have it. A perfect score.
I wouldn't mind having the same thing for television. Well, I used to call them news channels, but former news channels. Or for that matter, anyone who's reporting news online, where there's some kind of a disclaimer that pops up. This person is either a fool or lying. Now, I think most of you can figure it out for yourselves, but there's some people who just can't. Just something that flashes on the screen going, not true, not true, not true. You can decide for yourself whether the person's lying or not, but that's not true. That's factually incorrect. I would love to have, if we're going to use artificial intelligence for anything, maybe that's the best way to use artificial intelligence, is just to go ahead and attach it to politicians and your television. So whenever they do or say something that you know is not truthful, or, okay, for example, you watch we had Joe Biden doing it, but now we have Harris. And whenever they're just straying off of the truth in any way, there's a little something, or the media manipulates. You can put up a little something that flashes on the screen. This is a manipulated video, not in context. That would be great. If we're going to use artificial intelligence for anything, I would use it for something like that. That way, some people who are, the low information voter have a much better idea of when people are actually telling the truth or not. Because many of us can tell, but there's many people out there who have absolutely no idea. And so maybe they need a little bit of assistance. Not the same kind of thing that you would find on Facebook or social media when they fact check, because their fact checking isn't fact checking. Maybe this is the only good use for artificial intelligence, but it depends on who programs the artificial intelligence too, right? Just a thought, just tossing it out there. All right, coming up on some local news that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into weather forecast after that. You and I get back into it. 888-97 was the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about, change the subject, fine by me. I'll just kind of roll with it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming goes anywhere you do with the Wake Up Wyoming app. Free download for Apple and Android. This is K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I've been avoiding this, but I think I ought to go ahead and get to it real quick here. The Secret Service, Director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheatle, of course, has been on the stand, on the hot seat, which is good. I don't think she's learned anything from it, but okay. Here's the latest. And there's been a lot to unpack. In fact, I didn't even bother watching the hearings. I thought I'm just going to go through and pick out the bits and pieces later that people notice. Because the hearings will go on for quite a while, and I've got other things I need to be doing. So, okay. President Joe Biden's Secret Service chief, Kimberly Cheatle, claimed the building from which the shooter, Thomas Matthew, shot former President Donald Trump was outside the perimeter of what needed to be secured, despite that the building was less than 500 feet away from Trump. Less than 500 feet away from him. But that's outside of their zone. Also, the whole pitched roof thing, I'll get to that in just a minute. During Monday's House Oversight Committee hearing, titled Oversight of the U.S. Secret Service and Attempted Assassination of Donald Trump, James Comer, Republican Kentucky, asked Cheatle, after she failed to answer several questions, if she could at least agree with him that the building from which the shot was taken could have been secured. The building was outside the perimeter on that day of the visit, she replied. Then she was asked about the excuse of the sloped roof, which you know is nonsense for a lot of reasons, especially the roof wasn't all that sloped, but also there were Secret Service snipers on another roof that was far more sloped. So, okay. Here's a quote. One of the things that you said in your interview was that there wasn't an agent on the roof because it was a sloped roof, the congressman said. Is that normal? And do you fear that the immediacy, that immediately creates an opportunity for future would-be assassins to look for slanted rooftops? Cheatle replied, stating, quote, there was a plan to provide overwatch adding that the Secret Service generally prefers to have sterile rooftops. She said, we are looking into responsibilities and who is going to provide overwatch. So, okay, she's not really answering a whole lot of questions here, is she? Cheatle then added the Secret Service in general, not speaking specifically to this incident. When we are providing overwatch, whether it be through a counter sniper or other technology, we prefer to have sterile rooftops. I'd like to know, what do you mean by that? Quote, did the Secret Service use any drones for surveillance on that day? She replied by saying, we're not going to get into specifics. I'm not going to get into any specifics on the day itself, but there are times during security plans that Secret Service does deploy drones as an asset. The congressman then noted that there were reporters and reports that the shooter had used a drone just a few hours before the rally. In other words, he was scoping things out. Is that accurate? Well, waiting for a final report. Okay, so, I mean, this goes on and on, but you get the idea. A lot of questions have vague answers. There is this, though, headline, Secret Service Chief Cheatle admits there is no policy for sloped roofs. Now, of course, I just feel ridiculous even bringing up the whole slope roof thing because we know it's just garbage. It's massive piles of steaming buffalo patties. Does the Secret Service, this is a question, have a written policy you can share with us about sloped roofs? Said Representative Pat Fallon, Republican, Texas. And she said no. So why did you act like there was one? That's a great question. So the answer. So here's the thing with sloped roof. Fallon continued. You're saying that there is a danger, a safety concern. But the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a roof that was steeper. That's what all of us have been asking this entire time. I'm glad someone finally brought that up. Quote, there is nothing but pathetic excuses that make no sense, the congressman asserted. All the law enforcement I've spoken to for the past 9 days are amazed that the rooftop was not secure. As Breitbart News reported, Cheatle said in an interview last week that her decision was made to put local law enforcement inside the building. Well, that doesn't help. And didn't want to put them up on the rooftop because it was sloped, which we all thought was just a completely lame excuse. So, okay, she's had her hearing. I don't know. And they're still running this on the news right now. I don't know if there's going to be any more hearings after today. What I want to know is, so what do we do to get rid of the woman? She's not resigning. So what do we do to get rid of the woman? Obviously, she not only should not be doing this job, but she can't be very honest about her job either. Sounds to me like she's making a whole lot of excuses, and I don't understand why. It'd be perfectly fine to say, I blew it, and I'll go. Obviously, I blew it, I'll just go. That would be perfectly fine. Everybody would understand that, and I wish that she would. And then the Secret Service needs to review a whole lot of policies. I mean, a whole lot. I understand, and this is no pun intended, I was using a bullseye analogy. If you take a look at who they're protecting, put them in the center of the bullseye, and then have rings going out. Eventually you get to the point where the Secret Service ends and local law enforcement picks it up. Okay, well, we need to review how we do that and how far away, because 500 feet away? Is that what they're actually saying? That's what the story here said, about 500 feet away. If that's the case, then Trump is incredibly lucky. So, in this case, they need to review. I don't trust them to protect anyone at this point with this level of incompetency. And this goes back to what I've said many times before about the way government does all sorts of things, is when it comes to competency, I don't often trust that they have any. There are some good people in the Secret Service. There's good police officers out there. But that's not always the case, and a lot of times it's just, again, massive incompetency. And so those people that we see them, and we see their uniforms, and we see their body armor and their guns and their vehicles, even the technology they bring with them, and we assume they're doing a great job, that these are the best. And in some cases, that's absolutely true. But in some cases, like we're seeing here, absolutely not. So when the answer is absolutely not, what do we do then? As far as I'm concerned, I've heard enough talk about the whole thing. Now it's time to make some changes. It would start with Cheatle. Get rid of her. Next, who can we bring in that would actually be good at this job? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to pretend to know the answer to that. But I'd like to know, who do we bring in who would really be good at this job, and let's put them in that position. That's where we would start at. Then we would have to work on our lines of communications and so many other things. There's a lot to work on here. But we start at the top. Even Cheatle said when all of this happened, the buck stops with me. I take full responsibility. Well, then please do that. Don't just do lip service to taking full responsibility. Take full responsibility by quitting. And then let's get somebody in there who actually knows the job.
The thing that I miss the most about living in Denver is the fact that you can have a Target, a dispensary, and a strip club, and a Chick-fil-A all in the same parking lot.
I'm gonna pretend like that didn't happen, and everything will be A-okay.
Well, that image is gonna stick with you all. Local and mobile, across Wyoming and beyond, with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Time, Wake Up Wyoming, off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, I came across this story this morning. Most Wyoming car thefts come down to, what would you think? What are the people who own the car doing wrong that makes it attractive to the thief?
Leaving the keys in the ignition?
Yes. Which really surprises me. I always get a laugh out of when I'm watching a movie and someone gets into a vehicle they want to steal and they drop the visor and the keys come down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or they're in the console.
Yes. I don't know anyone who puts their keys up in the visor.
No.
Yeah. But in Hollywood movies, apparently everybody does it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you put your garage door opener or, maybe your sunglasses are up there, but your keys?
No.
I tell you.
Yeah.
For me, my keys, my wallet, and my phone are the three things I need. The first things I look for every morning.
Yes. Okay, so.
And they're not necessarily in the same spot.
Story from Cowboy State Daily says, car snatchers in Wyoming are thieves of opportunity more than sophistication. Wow, that's a dig. Police are not seeing real-life scenarios that mirror YouTube where someone with technology shows up to your vehicle, like Grand Theft Auto, stuff like that. No. In Wyoming, car thefts overwhelmingly can be traced to the driver carelessly leaving the keys. Now, if you're living in a state like Wyoming, you tend to think, oh, it's fine. Who's going to steal my car here?
Right. Things have changed.
Yes. Some years ago, I was living in Tampa, and I saw a guy pull up to, and this is a major city. Guy pulls up to a convenience store, and I watch him get out of his vehicle. He's just going to run in for something, and he leaves the car running. Next thing you know, he's running out the door because someone immediately hopped into the vehicle and took off.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a couple of weeks later, I'm at the same convenience store, and some other bonehead does the same thing, and his car is making it off down the road. He jumps on the trunk of the car and tries to hang on. Of course, that doesn't last long.
Yeah, not very long.
No. Now, in both cases, I did watch the news. In both cases, police were able to find the car not too far away that had been abandoned. But that right away told me, don't ever pull up to a convenience store and think, oh, I'm in some tiny little Wyoming town. I'm just going to leave my keys in it. I mean, come on.
There is a knucklehead everywhere.
Yes. And I hate to say this, Frank, I would even say that comes from leaving your door open to your house.
Yeah.
Because so many people, just leave the door open. Who's out here anyway? Well, it's a different era.
And very much so. In rodeo, the 128th annual Cheyenne Frontier Days are continuing this afternoon at Frontier Park. In yesterday's session, Zeke Thurston in the saddle bronc from Alberta, Canada, who rodeoed collegiately at Sheridan College, had a 90 in the saddle bronc in the quarterfinal round, and so that's going to be worth some big bucks. In the bull riding, Kai Hamilton, the NFR world champion from a year ago, with an 88. He's from Australia. And also in the bull riding, Wyatt Phelps from Pinedale with a no score. In the bareback from yesterday, Jacob Jacob Lees from Caldwell, Idaho, turned in an 85. And Rody Farrell from Thermopolis has an 84. And in the breakaway roping, Willow Wilson from Bags with a 7.60 in round number 5. And the rodeo continues at Frontier Park at 1 p.m. It's a big money rodeo with $1 million up for grabs. American Legion Baseball, first from Friday, the Cheyenne Sixers were in the Lubbock, Texas tournament. They beat the Enfuego team 2-1. The Parker 16U team beat the Cheyenne Hawks 11-6. Then on Saturday, the Sixers beat Lubbock 7-6, and then the Hawks over the BBA Beast 3-1. Casper Oilers swept the doubleheader from the Billings Scarlets on Saturday 4-3 and 7-4. And then on Sunday, Billings came back and beat the Oilers twice, 7-0 and 11-4. Now today, the Casper Oilers will be in Cheyenne to meet the Cheyenne Sixers in a doubleheader at Powers Field 4 and 6:30, and the Laramie AA Rangers will be on the road at Rock Springs for a doubleheader at 4 and 6:30. In collegiate baseball, the Casper Spuds of the Independence League beat the Spearfish Sasquatch on the road yesterday 11-8. The Spuds are 38-6 in Independence League play. They'll be at Spearfish again tonight. Colorado Rockies will host the Boston Red Sox in Major League Baseball tonight in Denver. The Rockies beat the Red Sox 9-8 in 12 innings. Ezekiel Tovar with a base hit with the bases loaded drove in the game-winning run. He had 3 hits in the game, and the Rockies are 37-64. That's it in sports.
And let's not forget, if you're watching Frontier Days, the animals get scored too.
Yes, it's a 50-50 deal in those rough stock events. Yeah. 50% for the cowboy, 50% for the animal.
Now, does the animal get any kind of an award for this?
No. Well, yeah, bucking horse of the year, bull of the year.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
As long as they
and what that really means a lot to the contractors. So if that horse is, with the contractor ABC Rodeo Company, that's a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Okay, as long as we can let the bulls and the horses know you're getting extra special treatment because you threw a couple of riders and that was good.
They might get a bath too.
Hey, I would hope so. Some of the cowboys need baths. Just toss that out there. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on, have you seen these guys? Oh my God. After they get done rolling around in all the dirt and the mud, oh yeah. These guys need showers and a couple of days to rest and recuperate. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. News time, national local update on the weather forecast. Oh, I just found out the Secret Service director has resigned. That might be the news at the top of the hour that we start with. You and I will get into it next hour. As I was just talking about it, and she just resigned. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. Oh, I just got a flood of text messages over the Wake Up Wyoming app telling me that Cheatle just resigned.
Today's show is sponsored by the Moneyless Money Clip. So expensive, you'll have nothing left to put in it.
Often referred to as the Biden money clip.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave. Just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So I don't know if it was while I was talking about Cheatle or just afterwards, but all of a sudden the Wake Up Wyoming app just blew up. Dave in Torrington, DJ in Gillette, Tim from Tampa, Sage Rouse in Gillette, Lori in Laramie, all, hey, Secret Service Director just resigned. Then Jay in Casper. How much credibility could a person whose name Cheatle have? Is that the residue that one gets on their fingers after eating Cheetos? I would say probably, pardon me, correct. If you hear me coughing a little bit, I don't have a really bad coffee. Yesterday I got home from work and all of a sudden I wasn't feeling good and I went to bed really early and I just laid there in bed, literally in a cold sweat under a pile of covers. This morning I feel that whatever I had is gone, but you know that feeling you have exhausted from being sick? Okay, so I'm just dragging this morning. I hope I'm doing okay for you. But yeah, this morning I've just been energy-wise really at a low level. So here's the story that just came in. For those who may have missed it, top of the hour. U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle resigned Tuesday in the wake of mounting pressure following the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. And then it talks about the Oversight Committee and so on and so on. There's not a whole lot we can say after that because you already know. We already went through all the details of this. And this is where I wonder now, what does she do for a living? Well, I know that she was in security before. And then got the job as Secret Service Director and so on. Where does she go now? I'm wondering, is her career as a security director or anything else in question now? I mean, I wouldn't hire her at this point to be a mall cop. Just forget it. So I'm not sure where she goes after this. Hopefully she's put enough money aside that she can just go ahead and take it easy from here on out. Maybe Walmart greeter? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out where she goes after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Governor and we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time. Right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Okay, here's what you do. See, I want to clarify what she's doing there for those who don't understand. If you are a person who is not smart, but you want to sound like you're smart, okay, so you talk about big ideas like the passage of time. Then you throw in a bunch of other words that are big words that somewhat, somehow or other relate. This is why it's called a word salad. You then toss all of those words into a bowl and mix it up. What kind of salad dressing you want is whatever you think goes with it. I'm thinking big steaming piles of warm, gooey buffalo chips. You know what I mean? Okay, that's what you use as a salad dressing. But anyway, yeah, if you throw in a bunch of big words that seem like they're on topic, and you mix them all up, and you say those words, and it doesn't have to be in any particular order, that creates a word salad. Now, other people who are not as smart as the person who's speaking might get the impression, oh, this person's so smart. But real smart people understand she didn't even say anything. I mean, nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Together, we are expanding access to transportation. Seems like maybe it's a small issue, it's a big issue. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
At some point, hopefully, I hope she gets to debate Donald Trump. And that's just going to be really interesting to watch. Because whether you like Donald Trump or not, he is far smarter than this woman. And let's not forget, Harris did not even survive. When she ran for president, she dropped out kind of early. And really nobody was voting for her. She was just that bad. How they nodded her and gave her the vice presidential position. The only thing I can think of is, well, a woman and a minority. So they want a virtue signal. But they're not actually picking anyone who could be qualified to actually run the country. But now here she is in a position where she's assumed to be the nominee now. Because all over the country, all of the people who would vote for her during the Democrat primary have already gotten in lockstep. And the donors are in lockstep, too, the big money donors. So it looks like at this time, and we don't know because it's been just too weird of an election cycle, she might just go walking into the Democrat convention with this all sewed up. We'll see. I hope so, because to me, I think she's easy to beat.
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
And it's because of what you did then. So I'm here to ask you to do what you know how to do, because when you do what you do on all of these issues, the American people win.
So what I think will happen, this is what I explained in the first hour of the program. What I think happens here is the Democrats are genuinely shocked when they see what she's really like. Just like they were genuinely shocked when they saw Biden during the debate. Unedited live television, so no one can hide like they had been doing. What's wrong with them? So now Biden's gone. So all we have to do is get Harris on live television as much as possible, especially during the debate. And I think the vast majority of Americans will look at her and think, oh, my God, what a moron. And then she has no chance of winning. I think sometimes the best way to beat someone is just get them in front of the camera and let them be who they are. I think probably the best way to defeat her is just let her be who she is.
Do you have any history of mental illness in your family?
I have an uncle who does yoga.
Allergies?
Cowardice and weak-willed men. And hazelnuts.
Sexual history?
Epic and private.
Okay.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all. Oh. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So just a completely side story outside of politics altogether. I just love this one. There's a lot of work going in right now to sending people to Mars. And some of it's even coming from private companies. Now, in order to do that, they have to experiment not just how to get to Mars, but once they get there, they have to live on Mars. And so you've seen it. They've set up different places where someone lives in a biodome, some kind of bubble, whatever, a group of people, and they try to figure out what the problems will be, how to do this. Headline, crew who spent a year in simulated NASA Mars base say they spent a lot of time just watching TV. I'm not sure how much TV you can get on Mars. I suppose you'll have to bring a lot of it with you, but Rick is in Casper. Hello, Rick.
Good morning, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
I have a question about the see something, say something principle.
Mm-hmm.
Did that fail?
I think in a lot of ways it kind of did, yeah. I mean, I don't recall much of that happening. Do you?
No, but, I mean, when it failed, it failed completely to a point of a close assassination of, the President of the United States.
Right.
So I'm just kind of wondering whether we kind of dropped the ball in this whole thing of, this principle about seeing something, saying something.
Well, now let's take a look at it from a slightly different direction, though. Those people who were at the Trump rally, who saw the gunman, they were definitely saying something. They had videos and pictures, and they were trying to get a hold of the cops. So the people who were at the Trump rally saw it and definitely said something.
Right. So from the time that you saw and say something, the failure just kind of goes up the line. Is that where, I guess, the policy or the principle where I thought you had control of it? No, right. I thought you did.
Right, exactly. I think that most of this is just a matter of, well, not just bad leadership, but lack of communication, because no one knew what the other side was doing. In fact, in many cases, local police working with the Secret Service, local police out on the perimeter will have a Secret Service agent with them so they can help in communication. But apparently that wasn't happening. So if the police knew, the information wasn't getting up the chain.
Yeah, it seemed like I don't know. It's just a dog and pony.
Yeah.
And nobody ever really is held accountable in this administration.
Not really, no.
You know, so what does that do to the rest of us down here when we do see something and say something?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have to get involved ourselves? I mean, we as a public?
I think in some cases, possibly, yeah. If you see something and say something and nothing happens, you might need to take it on yourself.
Yeah, and you had a policeman, I guess, that climbed up the ladder and saw the guy. I thought for sure he'd be pulling his pistol out and, hey, you know.
Well, the way I heard that story is he climbed to the top, he looked at the guy, and the shooter pointed his gun at the police officer, and the police officer immediately backed off and fell off the ladder. That's what I heard. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I heard. But my next thought would have been, well, unless you're injured, get back up there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at least point your firearm above the roof line or something. You know?
Something, yeah. Get in there.
Anything.
This reminds me
a
of...
shot in the air.
You might have remembered...
you know?
Just a little... I'm trying to remember which school it was, but there was a school shooting that was going on, and the entire police department showed up, but they didn't do anything. They got into the school. And they could hear the shooting going on, but they never went down the hallway to confront the shooter. They just stalled. So there, once again, what's going on there?
Yeah, that's a Vivaldi. But yeah, I mean, we're dropping the ball, and I don't know. It's like the Three Stooges, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate it, Rick. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure where he was going with the see something, say something. I do know that a lot of Trump supporters were calling out and doing what they're supposed to be doing. They saw someone on the rooftop, looked like the guy had a gun, crawling on the rooftop. They're shooting videos. They're taking pictures of it. They're trying to contact police. Hey, there's a guy up there. Do something. Now, why nothing was done after that or where the ball was dropped, I don't know. That's part of what the investigation is. Cheatle is out. That's good. Secret Service director is out. That's great. But what do you do in those cases? There was also a Florida shooting. Now, in Florida, yeah, there you go. Tim from Tampa, how about see something, do something? Yeah, you might have to. You might have to take it on yourself. And I'm trying to remember which school it was in Florida, but there was it's a very famous school shooting in Florida. And Florida schools have resource officers. In other words, police officers walking around with guns in the school, just in case. And when a shooting happened, that police officer went outside of the school and refused to go back in and engage. What do you do then? So just because we train people and get them into the right position doesn't mean these are the kind of people that will actually do anything, which is why we need to make sure that we have not just qualified people, but, and I don't know how to identify them, but the right kind of people who take action. You know, in other words, the kind of person when they see a burning building, they run to the fire. When they hear gunshots, they run to the gunshots. They're not running away. They're running to it. Those people. Now, how you identify that, I don't know. Not being in law enforcement or not being someone who takes care of security, I don't know. Not being in the military, I don't know. How do you identify somebody, and in many cases you don't know until a situation arises, that when something is happening, they rush in and take action? Those are the kinds of people that we're looking for. So, yeah, see something, say something, I think from a public point of view, that was definitely done, but not on the police officer's point of view and not from the Secret Service point of view until the shots had actually been fired. Then they started taking action. I'm with you on this one. I still don't know. So what was holding you up before then? What was holding those police officers up at the high school where they got into the high school, the shooter's down the hallway, they can hear them shooting people, but they're not running down the hallway after them? Which is what they're trained to do, which is why we pay them. And spend a lot of money on their training and even provide them equipment like vests that they can wear for some extra protection. We put a lot of money and time and effort into these people, and we hope that they're going to be there when it counts. We see the uniform, and we think, oh, no, they're going to be there. And what happens when they're not? I would say most police officers, most security agents are of the right, but what happens when you have some that are not? and they're hesitating. And even just a little bit of hesitation, as you can see, goes a long, long way. So we have a lot to review here. And anyone who had confidence in the Secret Service, which I understand if you did, at this point we have to start wondering, do we keep that confidence in the Secret Service? I don't have any confidence in them at all right now. I would go back and start from scratch retraining these guys if I had my way. Coming up on 9:30, local news coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it after that. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. Fine by me. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. You can do what our last caller did. Interrupt me if you want to. That's fine. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. I wanted to get back to this real quick. Crew who spent a year in simulated NASA Mars base. They spent a lot of time just watching TV. Story says, trapped in a small but high-tech habitat, stranded on a cold desert world, completely alien to their own. That's what they were simulating. What would you do to decompress after a laborious day of scientific fact-finding? Going outside in your spacesuit for a foot exploration. Thanks to NASA's simulated Mars habitat experiment, the Crew Health Performance and Exploration Mission, they found the answer. According to a microbiologist who spent with 4 participants, lived inside the 3D printed mock-up of a Mars base for 378 days without any access to the outside world. The crew's downtime consisted of a lot of TV and some reading. To keep sane, one person also tried to improve her drawing chops. I cannot claim that I was successful, she said. Well, that's kind of, you're trying to draw, do something like that. You're at least trying to be creative. We also know that the habitat came with a PlayStation 4 and board games. And we're eager to await for some of these brilliant minds to own up to indulging in these pleasures. Now, I look at this and I think, so in other words, you're going to go all the way to Mars just to do the same things that you do here on Earth. Okay. Well, at least you don't have to worry about any traffic. All right. During their stint in the habitat, the quasi-colonists were expected to grow their own food and manage their own limited supplies. They also were contented with realistic time delays, about 44 minutes round trip when communicating with Earth. So in other words, depending on where Mars is in relation to Earth, they send a transmission to Earth that takes about 20 minutes. I'm rounding the numbers off for the transmission to get to Earth. And then Earth has to answer back. That's another 20 minutes. On top of that, the participants were forced to fully suit up every time they left their relatively small building. That's because Mars has atmosphere, but very little atmosphere, so they have to act like it's a Mars mission and suit up before they go outside. Quote, the study integrates all sorts of data from behavioral and team dynamics. And the question was not necessarily can a human withstand isolation and confinement, as will be found on Mars, but how will they adjust? And apparently the way to adjust for all of this is lots of television. For her part, one woman found the experience absolutely exhilarating. I wonder, do you think anyone became, how much, they had male and female there, how much fooling around went on, is what I want to know. So, Quote, we were an incredibly functional crew and very cohesive. And there were many moments that we cherished together. Maybe that answers my question. Of course, sometimes you realize you're not around friends and family, but you do feel support from everybody. NASA is planning to carry out 2 more of these missions. One will start in 2025. The missions are critical to developing the knowledge and tools needed for humans to live on the red planet. NASA administrator said in a statement, the crew completed the mission earlier this month. So, okay. But again, they go all the way out there, to basically do the exact same thing they were doing on Earth. In other words, they start their day and get a little bit of work done. Fine, because they need to make food, and then they need to do some scientific exploration and so on. Now they have their downtime, and what do? Well, they're going to put their feet up and watch TV like the rest of us do. So living on Mars, according to this experiment, is how much different from living on Earth at this point. You just have to put up with a whole lot less traffic and noise. And for that matter, when your favorite television show, these days your favorite television show is downloaded onto your television and you just watch the episodes. So it might take a while for all of that to download because the signal has to get all of that information from Earth to Mars and download it. So your favorite TV show might take a while to download before you can finally watch it. And I wonder, these days, if they're going to bring movies and so on with them, they can at least bring it on a thumb drive, which is not too much weight. They have to worry about weight. All right. So do you still want to go to Mars?
Woke Radio WOKE, where we're 100% solar powered, giving you sustainable programming and weather says calm. No power. The sun's shining, right? Maybe we can get Mom's treadmill hooked up to the grid.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:47 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Off we go to the Icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Came across an interesting one, Frank. How do you handle if someone's tailgating you? What do you do?
Just go faster.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I like this one.
If you brake check them, then they can get out of the car and shoot you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or you could shoot them.
See,
which is bad.
I came across I was looking for how do you handle a tailgater, and I came across one article after the next that gave serious answers. I'm not looking for a serious answer. So I like this one. Here's a bumper sticker that reads, "The closer you get, the slower I drive."
I've seen that one.
Yes.
I guess you can moon them on the rear view mirror and rear view.
Well, can you drive and do that at the same time?
Well, that's the trick of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it'll certainly get their attention.
If you are capable of mooning someone while you're driving and you're the only one in the car, Frank, I am really impressed.
Yeah, it is an impressive feat.
Yeah, that is. Now, if you have other people with you, then by all means, would you please moon that person that's tailgating me?
Well, yeah, it's the least they could do.
Yeah. I have seen also, there are signs you can get where you can go ahead and type text and it appears in the sign in your window, or even have hotkey buttons. So you don't have to type the whole thing, you just push the button, and it automatically puts up whatever you pre-programmed. That way, if you have a tailgater, this sign in your rear window starts flashing something at them.
That's kind of cool. I never thought they had that kind of stuff.
So I think that's a great idea. I would go ahead and do something like that. But yeah, I was really disappointed. I went looking for some kind of funny, what do you do with a tailgater? And I wanted funny answers. But it was one article after the next where people were taking it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that happens.
My answer, though, to anybody who does drive close, and everybody who drives close and tailgates that I've ever met refuses to admit that they're doing it. But the answer is, just so you know, if the car in front of you has to suddenly stop for any reason, I don't care how fast your foot is on that pedal. The laws of physics say you're about to rear end someone.
And the laws of the traffic says if you rear end somebody, you're getting the ticket.
It is your fault if you rear-ended somebody. Absolutely. That is entirely your fault. You should have been given enough space. And when we get into the wintertime and there's a lot of ice out there,
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah, give more space.
Yeah.
A lot more space.
Like blocks.
Well, when I first came to Wyoming, I was wondering why so many vehicles had that nice little dent in their rear bumper.
Yeah.
And then somebody slid into my rear bumper, and I got one of those, which means I was officially indoctrinated then. Yeah, I was now a Wyomingite.
Yeah, that you were christened.
Yes, that was it, yeah. And the lady behind me was so embarrassed, but I could tell, though, she had given plenty of space, but we were on solid black ice, and there was absolutely no way she was going to stop, and there was nothing I could do about it. And so, but still, yeah, just give people plenty of room. But I do like the bumper sticker. The closer you get, the slower because it's a big bumper sticker, too, and that gives them fair warning.
Yes, and it's big. The letters are big enough to read,
yes.
And then you know you're too close.
So they can't say that they didn't know.
Right.
Okay.
All righty. The daddy of them all, the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo, continuing this afternoon at Frontier Park at 1 p.m. In yesterday's session, Zeke Thurston from Alberta, Canada, in the Saddle Bronc, who rodeoed collegiately at Sheridan College, with a 90 in the quarterfinal round. How about that? In the bull riding, Kai Hamilton, who was the world champion last year, with an 88. And also in the bull riding, Wyatt Phelps, great high school wrestler in his career and also rodeoing now. He's out of Pinedale with a no score in the bulls. In the bareback, Jacob Lees from Caldwell, Idaho, had an 85 yesterday. And Rhodey Farrell of Thermopolis, another outstanding high school wrestler who's now on the rodeo circuit, had an 84. Willow Wilson out of Baggs, Wyoming, with a 7.60 in the breakaway roping in round number 5. And the rodeo continues this afternoon at 1 p.m. It's a $1 million rodeo. All the big names will be there during the course of the week. In American Legion baseball, first of all, on Friday, the Cheyenne Sixers were in that Lubbock, Texas tournament. They defeated Enfuego 2-1, and then also beat Lubbock, Texas 7-6. Cheyenne Hawks were in that deal too. On Friday they lost to the Parker 16U team 11-6, and then beat the BBA Beast 3-1. Also on Saturday, the Casper Oilers beat the Billings Scarlets in a doubleheader 4-3 and 7-4. Then on Sunday, Billings turned the table with a doubleheader sweep of the Oilers 7-0 and 11-4. Today, the Oilers will be in Cheyenne to meet the Sixers at Powers Field at 4 and 6:30, and the Laramie AA Rangers on the road at Rock Springs for a twin bill at 4 and 6:30. In the collegiate baseball in the Independence League, the Casper Spuds keep winning. They're 38-6 on the year. They beat the Spearfish Sasquatch on the road last night, 11-8. Those two teams will meet again in Spearfish. And in Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will host the Boston Red Sox tonight. Rockies beat the Red Sox last night in 12 innings, 9-8. Ezekiel Tovar with a run-scoring single with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 12th to win that one for the Rockies. He had 3 hits in the game, and the Rocks are 37-64. We'll see what happens, how many players they hang on to with the trading deadline coming up. And that's it in sports.
Okay. So now we have, a lot of smoke moving in right now.
Oh, boy.
But, yeah, and it's really getting kind of hazy out there. But according to Don Day, when we get toward the weekend, it should be not as bad.
Sometimes the wind blows this round of smoke out.
Yes.
And guess what's behind it?
Oh, right, more smoke.
I'm
just pointing that out because you got a lot of weekend sports going up there. And I just hate to see all these athletes running around outside with their eyes watering and their noses running.
And they're not going to put a mask on.
No, they're not. That. Well, and those masks don't do a whole lot.
Not with the smoke, no.
No, it just goes right through it. So, all right.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. So wake up, Wyoming.